What's up, Waters? How you doing?
Waters.
My name's Internet. My name's Nerdy.
My name is Internet, and I'm Dial-Up. I hate it. I hate it.
This is episode 6 of the Wheel of Time. Read a Rewatch. We have watched the show before, but back then we had not yet read the books. And now we have. And so we're seeing what's different for us in between those two experiences. We've read all the books. We will talk about all the books in this video. Full book spoilers. If you've not read The Wheel of Time, 4.5 million words, 15 books, get the out of here.
Get out.
I'm trying not to be limited monetization today. And so we will wait another 30 seconds before we cuss. But also, if you don't like cussing, get out of here.
This
is not the channel for you.
It's not the channel for you. I appreciate your honesty, but you may leave.
And you know what? I appreciate people who don't like cussing. I genuinely don't understand. But I appreciate it.
Whatever your boundaries are, happy for you.
Just don't come in and try and tell me not to cuss, because this is my channel, and this doesn't matter. If you want the full length reaction, go to patreon.com. If you want the full take 3. If you want the full length reaction, go to patreon.com/nerdynightly, because that's where we post that. But if you don't, stay here, because you're already here, and this Wheel of Time Reader Rewatch is about to begin.
Can you smell burnt toast? No? Yes? Just checking if you're having a stroke.
I just smell you, and you smell burnt.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I totally forgot this was the cold open.
Yeah.
Best we catch him then.
Before some other bastard does.
Does Swan have tattoos in the books?
No. Not that's ever brought up later on in the series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the tattoos thing just seems like distinctly Sharon. So it's an interesting choice for this community.
Yeah. I forgot about this.
Yeah. I completely forgot about all of this.
Yeah, me too.
You're gonna do great things. If any of them bastards tries to shame you, you show them who you are.
It's interesting to bring this in to the show.
Mm-hmm.
If they end up cutting all of the Tyr stuff out of... If they, cut the, Kalendor stuff from Stone of Tyr.
Right.
It's set up Tyr and then never really go there. Because this scene would be very interesting going into the events of Book 3.
Yeah, into the Dragon Reborn.
But my understanding is that might not happen. I haven't seen season 2 yet, but...
I mean, they have to do Kalendor.
Do they?
Yeah, it is the whole...
Yeah, but that could be anywhere. He could get it in Meridian. There's a field of things,
Sure. Yeah, I guess he could get it anywhere.
I don't remember, but so much of why Nynaeve is the way that she is because of her believing a story she heard about the White Tower that Swan disproves. Right?
What do you mean disproves?
Well, because Nynaeve believes that her wisdom...
Yeah.
And this isn't really in the books in the same way, right? Nynaeve has a lot more reason to dislike Moiraine.
Yeah.
Whereas in the show, it's kind of just this one thing. And it's interesting because Swan is the poor person who showed up to the White Tower with nothing that her wisdom was. And it's just, yeah,
I think it's because Nynaeve misunderstood that it was about status and it's actually about power level.
100%.
Right?
I think that it's interesting that the show never disabuses her of that notion in season 1. Because the opportunity is there.
Well, I mean, kind of by Nynaeve and Egwene being there to train, that automatically, disproves it.
Oh, in season 2, yeah.
Right? So...
I just mean I think it's interesting to me that Moiraine, who would know Swan's background, would allow Nynaeve to continue to believe that when she can be that's not how we function at all. If Moiraine and Nynaeve just had one conversation,
Well, yes.
The flame of Tar Valon. The Amelin seat.
That's why it was so weird listening to the book say Tar Valon.
Tar Valon.
Yeah.
Oh no, this is a Tar Valon household. There is a bosom for Robert Jordan. Just one, but there is one for Robert Jordan in that scene. That's gorgeous.
Yeah. I remember, like, the visuals of this episode, like, in the White Tower stuff being, like, incredible.
And the costumes are ridiculous.
Yeah. I want Maureen's outfit so bad. It's so nice.
Aww. It's the first time they've seen each other in years.
Yep.
At least that anyone knows about.
Oh, right. That's Sheriam, right? No.
Leanne,
sorry.
but even his like cloak is so cool. Like the detailing in the wrists.
Mm-hmm.
Gentle as he is, he poses no threat.
That's what you think?
And that I still staked that green bitch to the wall.
He's so fucking good.
Yeah.
Outside this hall, this city, I am not so easily fooled.
Yeah, actually you are.
Until you lose yourself entirely to the madness.
Please kill me.
Interesting. Scene's great.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny because I didn't get it the first time.
Get what?
That her cockiness is such a massive failure.
Oh, of the Aes Sedai.
No, of her.
Well.
Right? Well, no. Now that we've read the books, this is full book spoilers. He's like, I'm not so easily fooled. She absolutely is. She has no fucking clue what's going on.
Shield first, gentle second, kill, last of all.
But you didn't see what he did to her.
They also were not able to hold the shield. Like, literally, there were 3 of them and he broke out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just surprised. You don't care about the girl.
That shot of Leanne's hilarious.
Yeah.
I was unaware that she could channel.
That's a lie.
Can women not detect women who can channel in this world?
Yes.
In its show version? Can they not feel it? That might be a change from the books.
Moraine Sedai, you left the tower 2 years ago.
2?
Yeah. They changed that for this, remember?
Forgot that.
Forgive me, Mother, I cannot say.
Cannot or will not.
Well, she can't lie, so... I love the way her hair is clenched. Mm-hmm. That's a very beautiful piece.
Mm-hmm.
You forget. I know you.
What's she doing with that fruit? Did she have that the whole meeting?
No, they're outside now. They were like walking through.
That's so... I never noticed her in the background of that scene just
Do you
fucking
imagine
like
if she
staring.
just had it like hidden up her sleeve?
The first half of that scene is so good. And then when it gets into like the political stuff, the intricacies of the dialogue fall apart a little bit.
I don't... No.
They should have presented their case better because the literal
Which
chain of
case?
events was they were trying to shield him and he broke through 3 shields and they could not hold him back anymore.
And the Emerald seat said your lives don't matter.
And the process is shield, and if the shield doesn't work, gentle, and if the gentle doesn't work, kill. They should have said, yes, we tried. We shielded as best we could, and it failed.
Yeah,
And so we went
they
to
still
the
get
literal next process.
Yeah, and when in this world, if you fail at something, you still get punished for it, even if you salvage the situation to the best of your ability.
That's insane.
That's
Why would you have a process?
The Wheel of Time handles
Why would you
things.
have a process that says that you can gentle him if your shield fails, but you will get punished for it because your shield failed and you were put in an impossible situation?
It literally happens throughout all 14 books.
I think this bugged me the first time too, though, so whatever. It doesn't matter. We'll move on.
He tries.
I haven't trained you yet, boy.
Yeah.
That shot is so good.
Mm-hmm.
That looks fantastic.
Yeah.
This effect is so fucking good. Oh.
Shit.
God, that shit is cool. Does Moiraine heal him like that in the books? I don't remember.
She helps him so that they can get the dagger back.
I don't remember.
Because he's not, like, healed, right?
If he touches it again, he may be lost forever.
Oh, he's healed.
No, because when we saw the clip from season 2 that they put out months ago, he was in the White Tower because he needed to be healed.
Why didn't you find me as soon as you saw the darkness in Mert?
Yeah.
That's fair, Maury.
Yeah. I need a refresh.
If wisdom is the title you claim, I suggest you start using some.
Got him!
Well, damn! Loyal's like, oh shit!
Remember how shocked we were by the boobs in this scene the first time?
Yeah, we were like, whoa, what?
Well, because it was just interesting that, like, naked nudity was kind of introduced in episode 6.
Yeah, yeah.
It seemed late in the season to, like, suddenly be like, and here's a ton of titty.
Yeah.
Robert Jordan would be so pleased.
And an Aes Sedai sank the Tarrant ferry.
Your informant network has improved.
Time to settle down, Moiraine. Make yourself comfortable. Get home again.
Yeah, I have a feeling they're not even really gonna do her, like, Kyrian bloodline plot.
I think that's what season 2 is, right? Isn't that Miranda's?
No, I mean that she is the heir to the throne.
I don't know how they cut the Damodred stuff. A little bit of flavor in that scene that would have been nice would have been a line like, I don't know what happened to you two before you were raised to the shawl. Just something to imply that, like, you know.
That they were friends.
Because everyone would remember.
Mm-hmm.
Valda won't hurt any more of your sisters.
There are no greater healers on Earth than the Aes Sedai of the Yellow Ajah.
Not true. Not even kind of true.
Then he becomes yellow.
Eventually, yeah.
There's much we don't know about the Dragon Reborn. What shape she or he will take, what power they will wield.
Do you think that she's being honest there? Or
With what?
about not knowing what that means? Because the White Tower is aware of what a wolf brother is.
Barely.
They
A
think that they're dark friends, but they know what it is.
I don't think so. I think it's like a weird... It's such a... Like, no one has been that for so long. It's a weird superstitious myth that everyone thinks is, like, evil and that they don't understand.
No, because when Elias started to turn...
Yeah, he left. Because...
But they knew... Because they knew enough to know that it was a sign of a dark friend. Right?
I don't think so.
Maybe I have that wrong.
I think he just... I think he left out of fear.
Be back before dawn.
Is that an order?
Did it sound like a suggestion? I'll stand watch until you return.
They have the kinkiest friendship. It is crazy to me that these are not a thing in the books at all. I kept waiting for something like this to show up.
Yeah. I mean, when you have so many, like, Terangrials...
Oh, no,
This
I'm
is like-
fine with them making up new ones,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I don't think the show should only be stuck to what's in the books. This was just the one that I kept waiting for it to show up.
Yeah, you were waiting for the inspiration for it.
Yeah. Because it seems very Teleranriati.
Yeah.
That display you forced me to put on has made everything we're trying to do much harder. Don't smile.
Am I forgiven, Mother?
I hate it when you call me that.
Would you prefer mommy?
You've been gone such a long time. On your knees.
Fascinating to have a Terran Amerlin who keeps up Terran traditions, even though she's not really allowed there.
Yeah.
It's an interesting idea.
But how can we discount her power? I don't know. Every town has a different legend about where the dragon will be
The
reborn.
prophecy is so specific. Maybe they'll just cut guitar out and not do that at all.
Your old prophecies. They've been translated again and again by hundreds of different eyes.
Oh yeah, they cut the guitar prophecy. Because why would they not talk about the one that they witnessed together?
Yeah.
Why would the wheel split the dragon's soul into many?
What if Katara's vision was wrong?
Oh, never mind.
You little pufferfish.
Damn you can't get away with that every time.
I think if I called you a fish, you would be mad at me for like an hour.
Yeah, but you're not a swan. You know, not everything is fish.
The dragon will either defeat the Dark One or join him.
I'll kill them myself before I let him hunt them.
You'll be there.
Yeah.
I thought we'd have more time.
We always think that.
One day we will.
Well...
No, I think they see each other in Korean, right? Because Rand and Moiraine are both there, and we know that Swan and Rand have a meeting there because of the trailers.
Oh, right.
In the books, they don't see each other again.
Yeah.
But they also don't talk.
Ever. Moiraine doesn't even learn that Swan dies.
I
Like,
know.
Are also from the Two Rivers. Along with the two strangers now Spectre Health by our Yellow sisters.
it's not strange because that's where Nynaeve's also from.
No, that's what she's saying.
Oh, she was
That's
like,
that's
oh,
the
it's
statement
strange.
she's making, is that...
Oh.
Isn't it weird you brought 5 people here?
Or I will tell your Red Sisters where he lives. We both know what they'll do to him.
So when we first watched this, we were like, oh, like Leandrin's like hiding like a lover. It's gotta be her dark friend informant, right?
All I said is it's Shamayo. That's what I was saying 3 episodes ago.
Right.
What
yeah.
would the Red Sisters do to him for having sex with her?
Murder him? The Reds
They can't murder
hate
him.
men.
They literally can't. Literally, what would they do to him?
They could send someone to kill him.
It's funny, I wore exactly the same expression when I first saw this room.
Do you think she had to like sign this out? Like hey,
book the
Leanne,
room?
can I have the room from...
To have the woman in the throne name the same thing.
Feel free to ask her.
Nah, they just call her the Amerlin.
Yeah.
Let her wait.
Swan Sanche waits for only one woman,
Me.
and it's not you.
She waited 2 years.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's not nothing, but when you
That is a long time.
but when you live for like 300 years,
They haven't gotten that far yet, though. They're only like 50.
No, I know. I'm just like saying like it would feel like a long time, but in relativity to their like lifespan.
Yeah.
These are your two, Moiraine. I've been told you're the most powerful channeler we've seen in 1,000 years.
Then you must have very low standards.
She's just so awful.
I know. I love it.
Brought the great serpent rings of my fallen daughters home. I thank you.
Now that you've blown smoke up our ass, why don't you tell us what you want?
That was a genuine thank you. Like, that's such an... That's... Oh, fuck.
Yeah, but...
I know, but that was a genuine thank you. For, like, very sweet moment.
Oh, I know. Nynaeve is a fucking asshole for the first, like, 8 books. Like...
Not around death, though. And, like, that's... Like, she can have some fucking empathy as a wisdom. I'm fine with it. It's very naive. It's just like, fuck you.
I also don't know if Nynaeve knew about the rings and understood.
Maybe.
The only thing that matters is what you do.
So what do we need to do?
The one interesting thing from reading the books and then watching this again is the Aes Sedai, like, subtlety in the face and, like, what they, like, choose to give away.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm able to, like, notice it a lot more because I read however many books of, like, the Aes Sedai, like, serene face or whatever.
Yeah.
And then when they, like, choose to... What they choose to show and when is really interesting.
Yeah. No, it's a great performance. It's, the actress playing Swan, I can't remember her name right now, she's fantastic.
Yeah, she's incredible.
It is a different version of Swan than the books. She's definitely a little less fiery. We get a little bit of it in the sex scene, but Book Swan has a fucking temper.
I don't know.
She gets
yelled
angry.
at Moiraine in the other scene. She seems pretty fiery.
Yeah, but in the books, it's more people calming her down, and there it was kind of the opposite. Like I'll talk when you get your spines back is something Gareth Bryan would say to Swan in the books. Do you think she get a different colored ring when she becomes Amerlin? Because that looks gold, right?
Yeah, I guess.
To ensure your acceptance of this penance, you will swear fealty to the judgment of this seat on the sacred oath rod.
What?
It's a big no-no in the books.
What?
This is a big change.
Yeah,
It is such a big deal when this happens with Egwene, and that is in private. Like, this is a huge shift.
Well, and I mean, I doubt they're gonna have the lifespan shortened by vows, right?
But by half, yeah. This is just a massive thing in the books. It's the plot of, like, 3 books of Egwene's plot.
What is?
The setup and the, like, secrecy of her having the girls swear fealty to her as the Amerlin seat. That's a big deal to a lot of people, right?
I, Moiraine Sedai, do swear to honor and obey Swan Such. Or may my creator's face turn from me, and darkness consume my soul.
I honestly feel like they did this to introduce the Oath Rod.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's such an important part of, like, capturing the Dark Friends and stuff.
Yeah, and it's a great scene. I see why they did it. I'm not saying it's a bad change.
Yeah,
I'm just saying it is a
it's just
massive
very
change.
different, yeah.
In terms of, like, what swearing an oath in the White Tower means to the Aes Sedai, and, like, what is and isn't Kuth, right?
Yeah. I love the idea that, like, they were all, like, standing out here eavesdropping and they knew to, like, turn away from her.
Also that there's no blues and it's just reds and greens.
Blue is the smallest Aja.
Yeah, these are the scenes that make the tower seem very small, though.
Yep, for sure.
I understand it's expensive to have a few more people there, but like at least give some of those women warders. Just fill out the room a little bit.
Yeah.
Or just not have them all be red and green.
Yeah. There's no whites. There's no yellows. There's like...
Well, and one thing I think the show doesn't do a very good job of in terms of marketing and in terms of merchandising is they don't do the Harry Potter thing of taking the time to set up what the Ajas are.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really understand what's the difference between a blue and a red or why a red would kill a man.
Right.
Like, it's not really set, like...
In the show.
What do you think your red sister would do to them? And it's like, are the Aes Sedai fucking evil? Do they murder men for having sex with a woman? Like, that I don't think the show establishes that.
Right.
We're just led to believe that that's the case, and that's some dark friend shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Most of the reds are dark.
Yeah, but Moraine doesn't know that yet.
Uh-huh.
And so it's just a weird... It's tough to sell to an audience that doesn't know what's going on to be like, what's the difference between a white and a brown? Because it isn't much.
Yeah.
Moraine Sedai.
Yeah, there he is. That poor horse.
Are you alone?
Are you alone? There's literally 2 kilometers of field. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, huh? They did not leave on good terms.
Nope.
A few weeks away from your friend with benefits? Changes your mind a little bit.
Yeah.
That's fucking insane. Why would you? But why would you?
It's too expensive to take them in there.
No. Why would you have them saddled then?
To make it seem like it would be weird if.
No, because now those horses are now just running around with a bunch of stuff on them. Mm-hmm. Just leave the saddles here at least so the horses can run free.
And what about whoever's not the dragon? What happens to them?
We cannot know for certain until that moment comes.
That is skirting a lie with how fervently she believes that anyone who comes between the dragon and the Dark One will die. It's not quite a lie, because you can, but that is skirting the lines of a lie based on the scene with her and Swan.
Yeah.
In season 2, are they just going to forget this conversation completely and just be like, no, there are prophecies that we know and are very important to all of this? Because, like, the dragon proclaiming themselves at the Stone of Tyr with Kalendor, right? It's kind of important. Is that going to be new information to the world that Moraine and Swan didn't know? Or are they going to retcon this? Because I'm leaning on they're just going to retcon all of this.
I mean, they could still do that. There's like 8 different prophecies about about what the dragon does.
I know, but Swan just like thinks that he's going to destroy... Like, this is not one of them.
Oh, right.
Like, this conversation of like, if we don't destroy the Dark One now, we're fucked. That isn't at all what...
I think it mimics the male Aes Sedai's,
The male Aes Sedai.
What's the word? Fucking... When you think real high of yourself, and so you do stupid shit. What's the
I
word?
think they're just going to retcon all of this.
All right.
I think there's going to have been these prophecies the whole time. They just didn't bring them up in season 1 because they wanted to fabricate a finale that is not natural to what has happened in the season. Like, what does Moraine think the dragon... The dragon... They haven't trained the dragon at all? Like, what does she think is going to happen there? Right? And so it's just... This is very confusing to me in terms of, like...
Yeah, like
it's just
yeah.
we need an ending, and so we're just gonna go have an ending, and that's it. There's no like logical reason for the characters to be behaving this way right now, except Swan said so we're gonna go have an ending.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's weird because I think they're gonna have to like backpedal on stuff in season 2. For the story to continue.
Well, at least for this, unless at the very end, instead of Shia Ghul, they go back to the Eye of the World. But that seems weird.
But like everyone, yeah. Oof. That's tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. There's so much of that episode that I really do enjoy. There's so much that I like. It really is. It like I think that is in a lot of ways the strongest episode of the season.
I was thinking it's probably one of my favorites. Yeah.
And I think that part of the reason is it leans so hard into the Moraine relationship with the White Tower.
Yeah.
Which the show is very interested in. Mm-hmm. And it's not, you know, obviously all of it's made up. Like none of this is in the books.
Yeah.
Not a single thing that happens in this episode is in the books, I don't think. And so it's interesting.
They do go into the ways.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah, but like, and really like the last 2 episodes are kind of entirely fabricated.
Yeah.
And what's interesting in hindsight now, looking at them, is that as enjoyable as they are to watch, it's not really about anything. Like, it doesn't really move anybody's plot forward, weirdly.
Well, and we, like, it's one of those things where we had so much love for the show the first time we watched, but we still, like, despite, like, having so much fun watching it and, like, having this thing to talk about, we still, like, really didn't like the Who's the Dragon mystery box. Like, even when we hadn't read the book yet, it still didn't work for us.
Well, and here, like, but maybe the soul was split 5 ways. No.
So what?
That doesn't make any sense given and maybe they just cut all the prophecies, right? And the prophecies don't exist.
Yeah.
I also think that it's in an effort to, like, make it that a woman could be the dragon. And I don't really think that benefits the show very much.
You said that when we watched season 1. You're like, well, if men can go mad, it's going to be one of the men because otherwise the stakes... Yeah. Otherwise it doesn't fucking matter.
It's and so I think that, like, trying to, like, force that element of it, because especially having read the books, the Nynaeve element of the prophecy straight up doesn't make sense. And they're like, it
might be Nynaeve even though she doesn't fit the criteria.
They have to completely rewrite the Guittara prophecy, right? And they have to ignore all of the other shit. Like if they, in order for it to not be Rand, which it is, and like Moraine knows that it is because he's the right age. He was born away from. He's the only one of them that wasn't born there, and like the only way that this could have worked for me is that if they had leaned harder into it's either Rand or Nynaeve. Not all 5 of them. It's one of the 2. And the reason Moraine is unsure is because Nynaeve is from somewhere else. Oh. And if they had leaned into that really hard, that could have been very interesting.
Right.
But by making it's any of the 5, it's like, well, why? Why is it any of the 5?
Yeah.
And that, like, I don't know. I feel like they made a choice in order to try and make the season interesting.
Don't think it stuck. Don't think it worked that well. They definitely made a bold choice. It was a swing and a miss, I think, for that element of the show.
But on the rewatch, I think I even said this the first time through, but on the rewatch, the thing that I'm kind of hung up on right now, and I don't want to be too negative because I think this episode really is good, but I'm a little bit hung up on how much time I think season 2 is going to have to spend setting up the world that is not set up in season 1. Yeah,
the broader strokes of the show and the, like, thinking ahead future of the show are lacking for sure. They don't have the same care and attention to detail that the books did, for instance. Yeah. And you know, like, that is an element of great writing that, like, it can be difficult to emulate, which, like, for watchers like us, I think it is something that's very important. For other people, maybe not so much. But where the writers really excel are the fine lines and the detailing of the interpersonal scenes and the fleshing out of the characters.
The relationships in the show are really good.
Yeah, and the stylistic choices. Visually, like they really, really put a lot of attention to detail into that. And I think that's apparent by even just the opening credit sequence. 100%. You know what I mean? Like, it's so beautiful. But yeah, those broader strokes and, like, overarching, like, how are we getting from Eye of the World to Memory of Light.
Yeah.
Like, there are some, like, literal, like, potholes in that road.
One of the things that I keep listening for is when do they first mention the Horn of Valir? Which they still haven't mentioned. And there's, in 2 episodes, a character is going to look down the barrel of the... Maybe he doesn't look directly into the camera, but he looks right by it and goes, "It's the Horn of Bloody Valir, boy." And that is going to mean fucking nothing. And it meant nothing to us back then because we were like, sure.
Like, okay.
The books, it's like a fucking event. Every 3 chapters, there's like someone.
Hunters for the Horn that are gathering.
Tom sings the story of the horn.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the item. Because I understand that, like, oh, it's just item. It isn't. Because what the way the book set up the horns does is it introduces the idea of reincarnation in this world.
Yes.
And how important that is.
Yes.
And that certain souls are tied to being heroes. Yeah. Right? And it's so fascinating to cut that from the show. I also think, like, we've spent 2 full episodes in the White Tower now. And from a show perspective, I don't really understand how the White Tower... What the White Tower does or what its, like, function is. And...
Yeah, they don't get into
They don't... But
they don't have time for that.
But the thing is, 2 episodes is more than enough time. They don't really get into very much, I think. And I think that one of the things that I hope season 2 has that I don't think season 1 does is like an economy of information that is passed through in each individual episode. Because honestly, from like 3 to 6, there's about 2 episodes of world building. And then there's a lot of stuff that I don't know. I wonder where it's going. Mm-hmm. Like, I really do. I like, having now finished the books, the idea that Moraine is the main character of the show is so fascinating because she is gone for 6 books.
I know.
Or 8
too
books.
It's too many books.
She's gone from what? Lord of Chaos? No. The one after Lord of Chaos, right?
Yeah, it's the end of Crown of Swords.
She's gone for half of the series.
Yeah.
Like, literally just not in them at all.
Is it Crown of Swords?
I think so.
Because Crown of Swords is the one where Rand takes Ilion, so maybe it's 8.
It might be Lord of Chaos.
No, because that's Dumais Wells. Lanfear's not really there, right?
Right.
So I think maybe it's 8.
So funny I can't remember which book happens. But she's gone for a significant chunk of the series and then is not in the finale. Like, she's there, but she doesn't really do much in A Memory of Light.
She's gone for like 6 books, yeah.
And there's no emotional conclusion to her. And so I get it. Like, you have Rosamund Pike, and so, like, make the show about Rosamund Pike. But in doing so, I think that they're going to have to rewrite the middle of the series.
Here's the thing. If Moraine doesn't die, and they don't do the Aelfin, then she can be there through pretty much the whole thing.
But then you have to rewrite every single event and have Moraine be an important part of them because it's not... Because here's the thing. If she's going to be the main character of the show the entire way through, all of those events can't just be, and Moraine was there. It's how is Moraine leading those moments, right?
Yeah.
If hers is the character, if the show can't find a way to pivot away from her being the main character and pivot to the Emmonsfield 5, because it's one of the things that I think Tar-Valon really loses out on is because we see it through Moraine's eyes, it's a little bit drab to her and it's a little dreary. Whereas if we had seen these past 2 episodes from the kids' eyes and them learning, we would have learned more about the Aes Sedai and we would have experienced the majesty of this large city. But because it's Moraine's point of view, we cut through it because it doesn't matter. She's been here a million times. Mm-hmm. And it's a choice. It's a choice. It's just a choice that worked for me really well the first time through because I found her very interesting. And having now read the books, I have a different perspective on it because I'm like, you got to get away from this woman being the lead of the show. You have to focus on the people who make choices in the show because Moraine doesn't. Like, Moraine is very stoic. And she's like she tries to get Rand to do stuff, right? She's working with Rand and she massages Rand into making choices. Mm-hmm. But in the books, all of those choices end up being Rand's. And this show has to pivot and like it has to find a way to make those people main characters. Yeah. Because none of them are really. Even Rand. Rand is like straight up not in this episode. Yeah. And he just is like, oh, hey, my girlfriend's back. Yeah. I really hope season 2 finds a way to pivot the show away from her. Because like it is the Moraine show, and she's great, and the actress play Swan is fucking great. Like, they're so talented, and I love the portrayals. It works, but like I'm feeling the like these are not protagonists; these are side characters. Yeah, these characters are not going to make choices that impact the larger narrative of the show. Yeah, in the long term, you got to do something to make me give a shit about Rand. You can't just forget about him. And have him sit in a room for 2 episodes being like, oh no, what's going to happen? My friend's hurt. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting. On the rewatch, it's really, I'm like looking at what they've set up for themselves.
Yeah.
And how much work I think season has to do to like make this the show that it's going to be, because it can't be this the whole time.
Yeah.
It can't be the show through 8 seasons, because the Aes Sedai are one storyline. They're not the whole plot, right? There are many plots that just don't involve them later on. And like the show needs to get away from the Aes Sedai warder thing a little bit, because it's so focused on that it's not setting up what this world is in a way that like will help tell the story later.
Yeah. Yeah, it depends on what kind of vision they have for like how they frame the next couple books. Because like, you know, here's the thing. Yeah, Rand is technically the main character. They can take a season or even 2, like to make him into that. Like if he's like here and Moiraine's here in terms of like main characterness or however you want to like visualize that, like the more that he mistrusts Aes Sedai and the more that they butt up against one another, you can kind of have that be like a gradual surpassing of like who is the protagonist or not. Because honestly, like, and it's like book 4 really that I think where Rand actually really needs to be where Rand really is like the protaganist who is like making all the decisions and doing shit, right? Because you know, even in book 3, I think that like Rand has that moment with the little girl in Tyr, right? That Moiraine is there for, trying to like bring her back. That like that like that's kind of like in my head in like the books, that's kind of like the moment where they kind of meet and Rand surpasses like into doing his own thing. Like, but he doesn't trust Moiraine and he doesn't like her, but like he still feels this like pressure from her, and I think that it's book 4 where that is finally put aside.
That's interesting because book 2 they're not together. Like they're not.
He runs away from her.
No, he doesn't. He leaves with.
Or that's book 3.
No, he goes to hunt the Horn with Perrin and the Shinarans.
Yeah. Sorry, that's book 3.
Rand spends the entirety of book 2 not with Moiraine, doing his own thing and leading that group a lot, right? Like he takes charge of that and goes through the flicker moment. And so in that flicker moment, he like book 2 has a lot of plot lines going on, but one of the big ones is that Rand and Perrin are alone in the world for the first time with a mission, and
Matt.
But the show's my understanding, and we haven't seen it yet, and this is where I'm a little bit worried about what I've heard about the show, is that Rand and Moiraine are in Cairhien together, and everyone else is doing the other stuff.
Oh, okay.
And so I don't know if that's the whole season. I only know that that's part of it, right?
Maybe he has to learn the Game of Houses.
Yeah, maybe. I just think I think that by not experiencing the world from the kids in the first season, so much world building is never done because the characters who are important know everything,
right?
And the characters who don't, like Matt and Rand, don't learn anything about the world in their scenes. They learn that there are dark friends in Breamspring.
Yeah.
Perrin and Egwene learn about the Tinkers. But Perrin does not learn about the Wolf Brothers, which happens in book 1. Rand does not learn how to play music and how to fight with a sword with Lan, which he learns in book 1. Matt doesn't learn any of that stuff. Like there's stuff that the world building of book 1 that our characters do because it is through their eyes that we see the world. That they don't do here because it's not their eyes seeing the world. That they still have to do. Like the show still has to have Rand learn the sword at some point.
Yeah.
So you've kicked that count, and
and by the end of season 2, because he kills a Heron Blade Master.
So like Rand must spend all of season 2 with Lan training, right? Because maybe
that's why he's with Moiraine, because he's with Lan.
And maybe and that might work, right? And I'm hoping that season 2 manages this. I just feel like they've kicked some stuff down the road that I think season 2 is going to feel a little bit more like season 1 than it should.
They're gonna have to do some heavy lifting.
Yes.
Yeah, I hear you.
And I hope that stuff works, because on a rewatch, the show doesn't really work for me on a lot of levels. I think that there's I hate to say that because I'm having fun rewatching it, but there's a lot about what's going on here that I just don't. I feel like they've made it's weird to watch writers make their own lives harder, and I feel like that's what they've done in a lot of these places. Is they've like written themselves into holes that they have to write themselves out of later, and the tangled weave of stuff that they've introduced here is a little bit rough, right? Like I think that they've put themselves in a bramble bush a little bit, and they're gonna have to write themselves out of these issues at a later date. And the way that they're gonna have to do that is by creating more, which is gonna push them further and further and further from the source material.
Right.
And how much of the fan base sticks with the show through that, like, furthering from the source material is going to be a really interesting thing to watch, because the show ultimately is going to be a very different show.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, not being able to bring horses through the ways is such a massive change, and it seems so small in this moment, right? But if you really think about what that means for some of the later events of the series,
what does that mean?
Everything has to move faster now in the ways, because they cannot bring pack meals through. And so you can no longer have characters spend weeks in the ways, which means that now all of the time that's spent in the ways in the series that is justified by
condensed.
Right, but now you have to condense everything, right?
I mean, they're already putting book 2 and 3 into one thing. Like, they're already taking the like, it's all already going like...
It changes what can move through the ways and how much can move through the ways, which is important earlier on. They move pack animals through because they're spending time there, right?
Yeah, and they're just gonna not have it take weeks. Like, I'm fine with that. I don't think that really changes anything.
I think it does. I think that like it changes. Our characters have to go. Our characters have to exit the ways every time they leave it without horses.
Yeah, they only go in it like 3 times.
Yeah, but those are big moments. Like, those are important moments to the story that are all gone now.
But they're not gone. They're just not taking horses, and it's not going to take as long. I don't know.
I understand.
That just feels a little like...
This is 100% my point, though. In the moment, I understand why it doesn't feel like a big change. They're making changes that are going to be hard to write around later on. They are going to have to rewrite later sections of the books. And I think that the amount of rewriting they're going to have to do to the books later is going to become complicated for them in a way that... I understand the horses isn't the biggest thing in the world. I understand. It was just one example that I'm bringing up. The point that I'm trying to make is I think that the amount of changes they've made to season 1 are weird holes that at some point they're going to realize they have to fill in.
Yeah, in a general sense, I agree with you. There are a lot of things.
In my opinion, that is a much harder thing to do than keeping the beginning a little bit closer so that you can play around a little bit more later on, right? And it's just very interesting. Like, it's the idea that Moraine cannot sense that Nynaeve can channel inherently is a massive change from the books.
Yeah. The
fact that all of them, that women do not just sense women who can channel, is a very big change.
Yeah. It means sneaking around the Sanshin easier.
It means that all of the, like, the only reason Halima can get around shit is because she can't channel Saidar. That can't be a thing in the books. Any woman who can channel can hide it.
Yeah.
Like that's a pretty massive shift in terms of a lot of different plot lines.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting how they create new obstacles for themselves later on because they wrote out this obstacle.
Right.
They've weirdly they've written out some limitations on the power that kind of would have helped them later on to like be like, oh, we have to be sneaky because they'll be able to feel us. That's gone. Like, there's no reason for those limitations to exist anymore.
Yeah.
And so without those limitations, you now have to create your own limitations that are going to be different. And some of your fan base is going to get upset, and they're going to get just like 5% more upset with everything that you change. And for a show that is this expensive and needs to go as many seasons as it does to tell its story, and is going through this weird 2 years between seasons, no marketing thing that the show's doing. Like, if you actually want to get 8 seasons out of the show, you have to start marketing it. And I know the strike's going on. Obviously, there's a reason why this isn't on YouTube the day that it goes up. The strikes are going on. They'll be over by the time anyone sees this, right?
Yeah.
The strikes are going on. This show, season 2 came out in a weird time, but we know season 3 is not till 2025. And if you want to keep the fan base of this show enraptured by it so that you can get all 8 seasons out, changing things and making your audience kind of sit there watching it going, I don't know that I understand anything anymore. Is in my opinion just not the best thing to do when you need a very, very vocal but very small fan base who's very protective of a thing that they've been waiting to get established for forever.
Yeah.
To finally see it made.
Yeah.
For you to change it in the ways that they have, it feels very. This show kind of reminds me of like early 2000s superhero movies, where I went because I love superhero comics, and I would show up and I'd sit down and I'd be like, it's kind of like, you know, Spider-Man. You know what I mean? That's kind of what the Fantastic Four are like.
Right.
Ian Gufford is great in that movie. You know what I mean? It's not really how the Silver Surfer works. You know, and they kind of made everybody a giant evil cloud for like 17 movies in a row, right?
Yeah, but
and
if you're just going to take something and slap it into a different medium, like, what's the point?
It's different than something like Rings of Power, where the Lord of the Rings is such a ubiquitous franchise. People are going to go watch whatever the Rings of Power thing is. Now, granted, I didn't think the show was very good.
I don't know anymore.
They won't show up for season 2, right? If you know, if only 36% of the audience finished the season.
Yeah.
But the Lord of the Rings is such a huge IP that there's going to be marketing for season 2 no matter how good season 1 does, because it's the Lord of the Rings. They just put out a massive Magic the Gathering set about this thing.
Yeah.
The Wheel of Time doesn't have that, right? I waited so long to read the Wheel of Time because I was like, oh, it's nerd homework.
Yeah.
The joke is that like the Wheel of Time's nerd homework. You should read it as a nerd, but like it's a lot.
Yeah.
And now that I've read it, like, yeah, that's what it is, right? Like, and I would only recommend it to a very specific person.
And even then with some caveats, you know, be
Yeah.
like, all right, definitely like think that you would enjoy this and you should read it, but there's some things you need to know first.
I just think that I'm very curious. And the reason why this conversation has gone on a little bit long, and the reason I wanted to have it here, is when we watch season 2, I want to, in those spoiler moments that we have at the very end of the episode, I want to talk about what they forget about from season 1.
Right.
Because I think it's going to happen. There are some things that they've set up here that I think are just going to be conveniently not true anymore, starting in season 2.
All right.
And part of it is because obviously the end. Matt is just that scene doesn't work at all. It's so awkward. The filming of it's so strange. And it's not their fault, right? It's 100% not their fault.
Yeah.
They had to do something, but like, oh, it's rough.
I didn't think it was that bad.
It's weird because they use a shot of him that they've already used, of him being uncomfortable in the middle of the conversation. That same shot comes back, and it's him being uncomfortable at not walking.
Yeah.
Because it's not like he turns his back on it or anything. He just kind of stands there and is like...
Yeah.
Like, he looks like he's moving like C-3PO a little bit. And I get it. Like, it's an impossible situation that Barney put them in. And I hope that Barney's okay. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
But it's going to be weird to watch the next 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Shall we do it?
Let's do it.
I love you.
Oh, we're
fist
playing
bumping
rock,
you.
paper, scissors again. I was like, well, that
No,
was a
we're doing the
disaster.
Cosmere. It's fine. It wasn't a disaster. We're doing the Cosmere. It's going to be
No,
great.
it was fun. It was fun. I loved it.
Yeah, sorry if this was a long conversation. I don't know if anybody cares, but I do. I'm so curious. Because I really do think that with a couple of retcons where we just are like, doesn't matter, season 1 doesn't matter, the show can get back on track really easily because there's so much strength in the visual choices and in the casting.
Yeah, for sure.
There isn't that same strength in the writing. And I think that the writing is really close. It just needs a little finessing.
Yeah, definitely.
And I hope that
it needs like just that
Season 2 got that.
long-term vision. Like it seems like the writers are really good at, like I said, the tiny details within the picture, but like the general outline is a bit, I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, and I really wanted to be positive about this episode because I do think it's the best episode. But I also think that it ends with, we're going to a finale for no fucking reason. And
Yeah, I forgot that it was like, that's where the dragon sealed up the Dark One. That is all very strange.
And Swan being like, he's weak right now. We can kill him. That's not... That just isn't what this series is about.
Yeah.
And
well, like I said, I think it's a bit of the reflection of then the male channelers having still can't think of the word for it, but the Arrogance. There it is. The belief that they're so arrogant that they think, and Moraine says it in episode 1, the arrogance, right?
Yeah, but
Swan
that's not what
shows
happens.
the exact same thing.
But yeah. No,
What do
I
you
understand.
mean? No, that is what happened.
They
in the
weren't
books.
arrogant. No, in the books, it's not what happened. In the books, there were 2 plans. They were both. It was like the end of the war.
And
the
Lucerys
world
was like, nah. You know what? I think I can take on the Dark One.
That's not what happens in the books.
Yeah.
He's like, we have to go stop him, and the women are like, your plan might work, but it might not, and so we're not going to come with you. And so he goes there,
And she's like,
as
I
a
can
desperate.
do it
The
myself.
world is ending, and this is the problem the show has, is that it is like, oh, the men were just arrogant, and it's like, no, the world was coming to an end. They didn't have any
They had
other
another
options.
plan. Yeah, they did.
But that other plan wouldn't have worked either.
But they don't know that.
I know, but that's
they-
why it's not arrogance. The women are just as arrogant in the men in that situation, and being like, no, our plan is better than your plan. Those are
But that's
equal
not-
levels of arrogance.
But no, the problem with both of their plans is that they needed the others to set them into motion.
Sure, that's why it's equal levels of arrogance.
Yeah, and
but
so
to
I'm saying
blame the
Swan
men,
shows the same level of arrogance here by being like, the Dark One's weak, let's get him.
But yes, her level of arrogance in this episode is awesome because it's very Swan.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense with what the Dragon Reborn in the books is not there to kill the Dark One. He's there to seal it away. And then he's going to break the world again, right? Like, that is the best that they can hope for, is that in saving the world, the dragon will break it. It's not, the Dark One is weak right now, let's go kill him.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't mean anything to the audience of the show at this point, because, is the Dark One, they haven't established what the Dark One is in the show at all. And it's because they're trying to hide that Ishamael isn't the Dark One, which is not the strongest. Ishamael talking to the boys in the books is so much more interesting than anything they've done so far.
Yeah.
Like or is that in book 2?
What?
When does Ishamael start talking to the boys in the books?
That's book 1.
Yeah. Him talking to them is so much more interesting than this. Than him being like, ooh, I'm the Scarecrow from the Batman.
Yeah.
Blah!
Yeah.
Because he's just like a generic nightmare in this. And there's and I know that in episode 8 we get one scene where he's a little bit tempting.
Yeah.
But Ishamael does try and tempt them a little bit. He fondles the balls a little bit more in the books.
Yeah, but in the book we were like, this dude's a fucking idiot. He just keeps trying the same thing over and over again.
Sure, but that I thought was going to have the benefit of being condensed down and not just being cut out.
Right.
I don't know. It is interesting, right? Like it's so interesting. It's so weird to rewatch this.
Yeah.
And talk about it because I'm like, they're gonna have some problems later on that they're gonna have to they're gonna have to do the cabin retreat with the writers where they sit down with a big board of like, what have we said on the show, and how can we rewrite everything after this point to fit in with that version of it. And I hope they've already done that. I hope they've sat down and figured out
the path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hope that when we watch season 2, we're sitting here being like, okay, they figured out what they're doing. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe ultimately I'm just sitting here being like, I don't really think that they know what they're doing. Not like they don't know how to write. I don't know that they know what their plan is here. And so it just, the pivot towards the Eye of the World feels like such a moment.
Yeah.
Like, oh, fuck, we forgot it feels like they were like, we're making a really interesting show. And then in the middle of filming episode 6, a writer walked in and was like, holy shit, you guys, we lost 2 episodes. Episode 8 is now the finale. We need to get to the finale, but they were already shooting. Like, that's literally what the writing feels like, because they've never mentioned the Eye of the World before now. They've never mentioned the Dark One being fightable. They've never mentioned the Horn of Valir. They haven't mentioned the ways. Like, none of this is established. It all just is suddenly established in this episode. And so it literally feels like, and maybe this is what happened. Maybe like, you have 10 episodes. All right, we have 10 episodes. And then they started filming and they're like, you have 8 episodes. And like, well, fuck, what are we going to do?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. It's very strange to watch.
Yeah.
Should we watch another one?
Let's do it.
All right. If you like this video, like and subscribe to the channel. If you don't, hit the dislike button. Leave mean comments down below, because the algorithm god is hungry and we must feed her. This episode, that algorithm goddess is...
Moraine
Sedai. You gorgeous lady with your hot lover. If you want to follow us on the internet, you can. I'm at Nerdy Nightly.
I'm at Claris Polaris.
Do something nerdy tonight, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.